Welcome to the back my channel.
The air outside the courthouse was biting cold, like something was wrong. It wasn't just the weather. You could cut the tension with a knife. People huddled together, whispering and watching the entrance, expecting something bad to happen. And in a situation like this, they probably would. Inside, the place smelled like old carpet, shiny wood, and weak coffee someone spilled hours ago. It was the kind of smell that clings to you, that makes you feel stuck in a place where secrets are supposed to stay buried. Photos of stern, unfazed judges lined the walls, like nothing could bother them. Today, though, they felt like they were watching, judging you before the judge even spoke. The courtroom was quiet, too quiet. The lights were harsh and sterile, and the air felt heavy. Everyone was holding their breath. The judge sat looking blank, like they'd seen it all before. The bailiff stood stiff as a board, guarding the place.
The jury box was empty, but you could feel the imaginary eyes waiting to see what would happen.
Then the doors opened. Kody Brown came in first, all confidence and control, but with a hard look in his eyes that suggested years of betrayal. His jaw was tight, his shoulders squared. He wore a pricey-looking suit, but he looked like money couldn't buy him peace these days. His face was calm, maybe too calm, like he was used to being in charge. But his eyes gave him away. They showed the truth he'd been hiding. He was scared. Behind him was Robyn, quiet, composed, but with red eyes. She'd been crying, and you could see the mascara if you looked close. She moved like she was trying to prove she wasn't broken, trying to tell the world, and herself, that she wasn't the bad guy everyone thought she was. She sat carefully, trying not to make a sound that would show her fear. Then came the others. Christine walked in like she was heading into battle. She stood tall, arms crossed in the back, watching everything. She looked like she'd already made up her mind, and wasn't going to let anyone change it. She glanced at Kody, and you could feel the hatred, something deeper than just anger. Betrayal. Janelle was next, calm but guarded. She had a neutral look on her face, but her eyes gave her away. She was afraid. Not of the judge, not of the law. She was afraid of what the truth would do to her family, of what she'd learn about the people she once trusted. She sat slowly, bracing for the worst, with just a little trembling in her hands. And then, Mary. Mary walked in last like she'd been thrown into a storm she didn't want. She was pale, her hands shook slightly. She sat slowly, bracing herself. You could see the pain in her eyes, the kind that sticks around, settles in, and makes every breath a struggle. The courtroom buzzed as everyone sat. People raised their phones, itching for the moment the truth would come out. The truth they suspected, whispered about, and hidden behind smiles and reality TV cameras for years.
The bailiff called the room to order.
The judge spoke. "We are here today to hear the case of Brown against Brown." The room went silent. The judge continued. "This court has evidence of alleged financial issues, claims of lying, and, most importantly, claims of messing with emotions within the Brown family." The word messing hit hard. No one expected to hear that word. The judge paused, then said, "We will start now." The first witness was called. A man in a normal suit stood. He wasn't famous. He wasn't on TV. He was just a man who knew something, who'd seen too much, and couldn't stay quiet. He took the stand and promised to tell the truth. The attorney asked, "Can you say your name?" He did. Then the attorney asked the first question that made everyone lean in. "Did you see Kody Brown handle money that the family didn't know about?" The witness hesitated, glancing at Kody, then said, "Yes." The courtroom went still. Kody's face was calm, but his jaw tightened. Robyn looked down, squeezing her eyes shut like she was about to break. Christine's lips pressed together. Janelle gripped her chair. Mary's breaths became short. The attorney asked, "What did you see?" The witness spoke slowly and carefully. "I saw Kody move money from the family's accounts to another account."
I saw it when the family was told they had no money.
The room shifted. People started whispering, louder this time. The attorney asked, "Did you ever see Robyn with these money moves?" The witness paused, quietly answering, "No." Kody's eyes flashed. Was it anger or relief? The judge spoke, and the courtroom fell silent again. The witness went on. "But I did see Robyn in meetings with Kody, where he talked about having it all under control when it came to money. He said it was to keep it safe." "Safe from what?" the attorney asked. The witness swallowed. "From the truth." The room went quiet again, but it wasn't a calm quiet. It was tense, because everyone knew what that meant. The truth was coming. The attorney asked, "What truth?" The witness looked at the judge, then at the family, then said something that made even the judge react. He said that the family wasn't just a family.
It was a business, and he said he had to protect the business from the wives. That hit hard. The wives looked at each other, their faces changing. They weren't just family anymore. They were people who had been lied to and taken advantage of. The judge leaned forward. "Mr. Brown, do you deny this?" Kody stood, his voice steady, but his eyes cold. "I deny it. I'm not responsible for what others think is lying. I've always acted fairly." The judge looked at him, then said, "We will hear the proof." The next witness was called. This one was different. This one was a woman. She isn't on TV. She isn't famous. But she's the one who knows the family's secret. She took the stand, her hands shaking, her eyes on the judge. The attorney asked, "How do you know the Brown family?" "I was hired as a doctor." A buzz went through the courtroom. "A doctor?" The judge asked. "Are you approved?" She nodded. "Yes." The attorney asked, "Did you treat the Browns?" She answered, "Yes, I treated Mary, Janelle, and Christine." The wives looked shocked, their faces softening as they remembered. The doctor continued, "I was there to help them deal with pain." The attorney asked, "Did you see anything wrong?" The doctor took a deep breath. "Yes." The room tightened. The attorney asked, "What did you see?" The doctor spoke quietly, but the words were loud. "I saw that they were being bossed around, not just feeling-wise, but what they had to spend, how they had to say things. Their lives were planned out and dictated." The wives stared. Kody's changed. He looked scared for the first time. The attorney asked, "By who?" The doctor looked at the judge, then said, "By Kody." The courtroom went crazy. People gasped, phones clicked, cameras flashed. Christine stood up quickly, eyes wide. "That's wrong," she shouted. The judge hit the gavel. "Quiet," the judge said. "Sit down." Christine sat, shaking, like she was about to cry or explode. The doctor continued. "I have notes. I have sounds. I have details." Kody's face turned white. Robyn looked like she wanted to run. Janelle covered her mouth. Mary's eyes filled with tears. The attorney said, "Your Honor, we want to give these notes as proof." Kody's attorney stood, saying, "I disagree. Those are private." The judge looked at the doctor. "Are these notes to be kept private?" The doctor hesitated. "They were, but the wives told me to use them. The court will look at them." The mood in the room changed. It wasn't just a trial. It was a war. And in this war, the Brown family's secrets were finally being revealed. The judge leaned forward and said, "This case isn't just about money. It's about charge. It's about the realness." Kody watched Robyn. Robyn looked back, but her look was empty. The judge said, "We will take a break." As the court cleared, the wives stood together, but they didn't look like they were one. They looked beaten. They looked like they had always lived inside a cage, and the door had finally been opened. They walked out, but they didn't speak, because they all knew what was coming. The courtroom emptied, but the silence was thick. You could cut it with a knife. The judge called a break, but the real fight was about to start behind closed doors. Everyone breathed hard, like they'd sprinted a mile, but no one moved. The tension stuck around. It was like the whole family stood at the edge of a cliff,
staring at a drop too far to fall. Kody walked out slow, but he didn't look relieved. Looked more like he tried to stay calm while the ground pulled away. His face was still, too still, like he always had to be in charge. But his eyes told a different story, told the truth he hid for years. He was scared. Robyn followed, kept her distance. She was quiet, but you could feel her fear all the same. She didn't look at Kody. Didn't look at anyone. Just stared straight ahead, like she tried to vanish. Her shoulders were tight, like she braced for a punch.
Christine, Janelle, and Mary bunched up by the exit, but they didn't talk.
Their faces were blank, all emotion gone. But if you looked close, you could see they were terrified. Not of the judge, not of the law. They were terrified of what the truth would do to their lives. They were terrified of what would happen when the world finally saw what they lived with. Then the cameras started flashing. Reporters pushed forward with their microphones, shouting questions like they were trying to smash a wall with them.
"What did you think of the testimony?" one reporter asked.
"What do you say about the claims?" another yelled. Kody stopped, turned, his face hard. "I've got nothing to say." Robyn stayed quiet. Christine spoke up, her voice sharp and calm. "It's all lies. Someone is trying to ruin him." Janelle stepped forward, her voice shaky. "We just want the truth out." Mary looked ready to fall apart, but before the cameras pulled another word, the bailiff called everyone back inside. The judge waited. The judge's face was hard to read, but the mood in the room changed. It wasn't just a courtroom now. It was a war zone, and everyone knew everything could change in a heartbeat. The judge started, "We'll look at the proof now." The court clerk brought a pile of papers. The judge opened them slow, like each page was a disaster. The plaintiff's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we want to show the therapist's notes as proof." Kody's lawyer stood too, ready to object. "Objection, Your Honor. Those notes are private." The judge looked at the therapist. "Were the family allowed to see these notes?" The therapist nodded. "Yes, the family saw them, but only for therapy." The judge paused, then said, "The court will allow the notes. But they'll be sealed, and I'll read them alone." The room went quiet. The judge went on, "The court will now listen to the notes behind closed doors." The judge stood and left the room, followed by the lawyers and the therapist. The wives sat in silence, staring at the empty courtroom. Fear showed on their faces. Their bodies were stiff. They felt like they waited for the worst. The doors shut. The wives were alone. Then something really scary happened. A voice came from behind. "Don't trust the notes." Everyone turned. It was a woman. She wore plain clothes, and her face was tired. She walked slow to the wives, her eyes darting around like she thought someone watched. She stopped in front of Mary. "Mary," she said soft. Mary's eyes grew wide. She stood slow, shaky. "You know me?" Mary asked. "I gave you the recordings." The room fell silent. The wives stared, shocked. "Recordings?" Christine asked. The woman nodded. "Yep, the recordings you never knew about." Robyn's face went white. Kody looked like he panicked. The woman went on. "Kody recorded chats for years. Not just with you, but with everyone. He has a file. He has everything." The wives were stunned. The woman looked at them, her eyes urgent. "You need to know, those recordings aren't just about the family. They're about money, control, playing you all." Janelle stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Why tell us all this?" The woman narrowed her eyes. "Because I can't lie anymore. Can't hide the truth." Mary's voice was quiet. "Who are you?" "I'm the woman Kody paid to keep things quiet." The room went silent. The wives stared at her, shock on their faces. The woman went on. "He paid me to keep his secret meetings quiet, paid me to stay quiet about how he played around with the money, paid me to keep you all in the dark."
Christine's face turned red with anger. "That's not true."
The woman shook her head. "It is true." Robyn looked like she wanted to scream, but she held it back. The woman leaned in. "There's more too. The wives leaned forward. The woman whispered, "He has another account, a secret account, and he uses it to pay for his lifestyle." The wives stared. Mary's eyes welled up. "He lied to us." The woman nodded. The room felt tiny. Then the bailiff called them back in. The doors opened. The judge walked in. The judge looked at the wives. "Ready to keep going?" The wives nodded. The judge turned to the lawyer. "Go ahead." The lawyer stood and started, "Your Honor, we've got proof of a secret account, proof of hidden payments, proof of playing people and control." Kody looked tense. His hands were tight. The judge looked at him. "Mr. Brown, is this real?" Kody stood, his voice shaking. "No, it's not real. The court will check the proof." The court clerk brought a folder. The judge opened it. The judge's eyes grew big. The judge looked up and said, "This is bad." Kody's face changed. The wives stared. The judge said, "We'll keep this going tomorrow." The courtroom was full of whispers. The wives walked out, shaken, but their eyes were bright for something new. Not fear. Toughness. Because they knew the truth was out, and the truth was on its way. The courthouse was packed the next morning. The media went wild overnight with gossip. People called it the biggest scandal ever for the Browns. Everyone gossiped about the secret stash and the recordings, waiting for the truth to drop. This time the wives showed up together, not as a happy family, but as people who'd survived something awful. They walked in heads bowed and looking super drained. They looked like they hadn't slept in days, carrying a ton of stress that everyone could now see. They sat, and the room felt super tense. You could see the weight of their discovery on their faces. They weren't just sweating their rep, they were worried about their safety. They knew their lives were about to change forever, once the truth got out. They knew they'd be judged for every choice they'd ever made. Those were legit expenses. I was just handling the family's money and keeping everyone safe. The judge leaned in. Safe from what? Kody's eyes darted all over. From things going sideways. The judge nodded slowly. And what about these recordings? Kody turned pale. The judge kept going. The court has recordings that were made without the family knowing. Is that true? Kody hesitated. No. The judge's voice got frosty. We have proof. Kody's attorney stood up. Your Honor, we object. Those recordings were gotten illegally. The judge looked at him. We'll look into that. The other attorney stood. Your Honor, these recordings prove he was twisting arms and bossing people around.
Let's hear them. The whole courtroom listened as the audio played.
The sound filled the room. It started quiet, then got clear. It was Kody's voice. He was talking to one of the wives. He was telling her who she could and couldn't talk to. He was telling her she couldn't have her own money. He was telling her she wasn't allowed to split. The wife's voice was weak and shaking. Why are you doing this? Kody's voice was sharp. Because you're mine. The room blew up. Christine turned white as a sheet and looked like she was about to pass out. Janelle's hands shook. Mary covered her face. Robyn looked stunned. Kody just stood there staring straight ahead, but looking totally empty. The judge turned to him. Mr. Brown, this is a serious claim. Kody finally spoke. Those words were taken the wrong way. Whatever way you look at it, the message is clear. The other attorney spoke. Your Honor, we have more recordings. The judge nodded. Play them. The room got even quieter. The recordings went on. They showed more. They showed a guy who controlled his family with fear, guilt, and mind games. They showed a guy hiding behind a perfect family image. They showed a guy who'd been lying for years. The wives sat there shocked. They looked at each other, and you could see the pain on their faces. They had all realized the same ugly truth. The version of the man they loved was a total lie. The judge turned to the wives. Anything to say? Christine stood, her voice shaking. I didn't know any of this. Janelle stood. I trusted him. Mary stood. I thought he loved me. Robyn stood last. Her voice was quiet but trembling. He said he was keeping us safe, she said.
He told me we were a family.
Her eyes filled with tears.
But he was wrong. The judge looked at her.
This court isn't finished. The room was silent. The judge stood. We'll continue this later behind closed doors. The wives were led out. They walked down the hall, not saying a word. Their silence screamed everything. They knew the truth now.
The closed session started. The courtroom doors shut, and you could feel the tension.
The wives had to stay outside. It was just the judge, lawyers, and clerk in the room. The air was thick with anticipation. The judge turned to the attorney. What kind of evidence are we talking about? The attorney answered, we've got personal recordings, bank statements, and a secret file with a confession. The judge narrowed his eyes. A confession? The attorney nodded. Yep, from Mr. Brown himself. The judge leaned back. Let's see it. The clerk handed the folder to the judge, who opened it. The room went quiet as the judge read. His expression changed. He looked up. This is a confession. The attorney confirmed. It is. The judge said, this confession says that Mr. Brown was manipulating his entire family to keep control. He used money, emotions, and fear to keep everyone in line. The judge looked up again. It also says he's been hiding a second bank account to pay for his lifestyle. The attorney nodded. That's right. The judge's voice turned cold. This court is shocked. He looked at the clerk. Get everyone back in here. We're presenting this evidence in open court. The session ended. The wives were called back in. The judge came back and announced, the court has reviewed the evidence, and it's serious. Kody's face was white as a sheet. The judge stared at him. Mr. Brown, anything to say? Kody stood up, his voice shaky. I don't know what to say. The judge said, you're accused of manipulating your family. That's not true, the judge responded. We have your confession. Kody's face fell apart, tears welling up in his eyes. He mumbled, I didn't mean to hurt them. The judge's voice was firm. But you did. A gasp went through the courtroom. The judge continued, the court will now hear from the wives. Christine was up first. She stood and looked right at Kody, her voice trembling. I trusted you. I loved you. But you lied to me. Turning to the judge, she said, I don't even know who I am anymore. The judge nodded. Go on, Christine continued. I was controlled. I wasn't allowed to work, have money, talk to certain people, or even leave. She looked back at Kody. I was trapped. Janelle spoke next. I tried to be strong, to be brave. But I couldn't. I was scared. She looked at the judge. I was scared of him. Mary spoke up. I was alone, scared, and confused. I didn't know what was happening. Robyn was last. Her voice was quiet, but her eyes burned. I thought I was doing the right thing, she said. I thought I was protecting the family, but now I see I was protecting a lie. The courtroom was silent. The judge stood up. This hearing will continue tomorrow. Kody was led out. The wives stayed in their seats, but something had changed in their faces. They weren't just victims anymore. They were survivors ready to fight. Okay, here's a more human-sounding version of the text. The courthouse was jam-packed for the final session, more crowded than usual. The media was all over it. The public was too. Everyone wanted to be there when the truth finally came out. A ton of people stood outside, reporters, fans, haters, even random folks just wanting to see what happened. Some people held signs and recorded everything on their phones, hoping to catch the moment the Brown family's secrets were exposed. Inside, the wives arrived separately, not together. They looked like they had become strangers, all tense, worn out, and emotionally spent. Their eyes were red, faces pale, bodies tight. The judge walked in, and the room went dead silent. He looked serious, almost angry. You could tell this case had gotten way bigger than anyone thought. It wasn't just about family drama anymore. It was about the search for truth and getting justice. The judge spoke. This court has heard testimony and reviewed the facts. It's clear this case involves something more. It's about control. The judge looked right at Kody. Mr. Brown, do you get how serious this is? Kody stood up, his voice shaky. Yes, Your Honor. This court is thinking about ordering a restraining order and making you show all your finances. Kody's face tightened. You could see fear flash in his eyes. For once, the guy who always called the shots looked like he was losing it. His hands were clenched, his jaw set. He stared at the judge, trying to find a way out. The judge turned to the wives. Does anyone want to say something? Christine stood. I want my life back. Janelle stood. I want the truth to be out. Mary stood. I want some peace. Robyn stood. I want the family to fix what's broken. The judge nodded. The court will now make its decision. The courtroom fell silent. The judge looked down at the papers. The judge spoke. Based on what's been presented, this court finds Mr. Brown guilty of manipulation, coercion, and messing around with the money. The room went crazy. Kody's face fell apart. The court is issuing a restraining order against Mr. Brown. He can't contact the wives. The room gasped. The judge continued. The court is also ordering him to show all the money and have all the family accounts checked. Kody's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, we don't agree. The judge shook his head. The court's decision stands. Kody went white. He looked at the wives, anger burning in his eyes. But the wives didn't even flinch. They were finally free. The judge spoke again. This case is done. The wives stood up. They walked out of the courtroom, but they didn't look back. They're walking toward what comes next. Right then, as they stepped outside, a voice called out. It was the woman from before. She walked up to them, holding a file. She handed it to Mary. Mary opened it, and her face turned white. She looked at the others. She whispered. The woman looked at her. It's not done yet. The wives stared at her. Because inside that file was something even more shocking than the recordings. Something that made it clear the Brown family's secrets went way deeper than anyone knew. And the truth was far from coming to an end.